Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you're dialing in from. My name is Cara Romano, and I'm the Executive Editor of Consumer Goods Technology. I'd like to welcome you all to today's web seminar, a continuing part of the Consumer Goods Web Connection series. We appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedules to join us today, and would especially like to thank Datalliance for their support in sponsoring this event. Today, we will be talking about vendor-managed inventory, which is certainly not a new subject. Consumer goods companies have been doing VMI with their retail partners since the 90s, but there's definitely been a real uptick in interest in VMI over the past year or so. We've got amazing response for this webinar today, unusually high number of related downloads from CGT and from Datalliance, including a white paper that talks about the positive impact VMI can have on transportation costs. And as technology continues to improve and trading partners continue to look for better ways to collaborate, VMI really proves to have some staying power. So I am pleased to have two industry experts joining me today to share their perspectives, and then we'll have an open Q&A at the end. So our first speaker today will be Alistair Hill, who is the Director of Global Business Services from the Procter Gamble Company. I want to take a second and congratulate P&G for once again returning to the elite top 5 of Gartner's latest Global Supply Chain Top 25, which was just announced a week or two ago. So Alistair certainly had a part in that. He leads P&G's customer service and physical distribution global IT systems, strategy, and implementation program. Located in Geneva, Switzerland, Alistair has a track record of driving innovative breakthrough business transformation and value creation in transportation planning and execution, warehouse management, customer demand integration, and automation of order management. Our second speaker today will be Carl Hall, the President and CEO of Datalliance. Carl leads the strategic direction of Datalliance, the world's leading independent VMI service provider. Delivered as a cloud-based platform backed by extensive customer service, Datalliance manages billions of dollars in orders, millions of SKUs, and thousands of locations worldwide for leading companies in consumer, industrial, and healthcare markets. As with all of our events, one of our goals is to make them as interactive as possible and to continue to get feedback from you throughout. So please notice the Q&A function on the left side below the presenter headshots. Please use this feature to ask questions of the speakers throughout the webinar, and we'll be pulling some of them for the Q&A session at the end. The slides can be downloaded from the Event Resource Center in the same area, along with the white paper on transportation costs I just mentioned earlier. A replay will be available on our website for many platforms, including smartphones and tablets. So with that, I'd like to thank you all again for your time today, and let's get going. So Alistair, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Cara, and welcome everybody. My name is Alistair Hill. I work for the Procter Gamble Company, and I'm Director within our Global Business Services organization, really responsible for our customer-facing supply chain system strategy, innovation, and master planning, covering processes in order, shipping, billing, transportation, and warehousing. The purpose of today's session is to describe how P&G uses VMI uses VMI currently, and how we're also using it to drive to the next generation of customer collaboration across the supply network. P&G has been doing VMI now for 30 years, and it remains an important value-adding supply chain capability. P&G envisions VMI as a foundational capability for supply chain collaboration with our customers. P&G has been working with Datalliance to identify and address opportunities to drive increased value out of the synchronized supply chain through using vendor-managed inventory processes and systems. In today's session, I shall first of all cover P&G background. We shall talk about the VMI history, how VMI is being used today, the value that we generate through VMI, how we're moving to the next generation of VMI processes and value with Datalliance, those new capabilities that we're going to be working on together, and then finally where we go next in terms of synchronizing the supply chain with VMI, and then I shall return to the key messages. So P&G, we're an $84 billion sales company. We operate in the 5 regions of North America, Western Europe, Latin America, CEMEA, and Asia. Across the globe, we have 150 plants, 250 distribution centers, 600,000 lanes through which we ship our products, and we ship about 6 million, make about 6 million shipments per year, and we have 150,000 customers, excluding the part of the business where we have an even larger number of customers within the salons, are serving about 5 billion consumers each year. And we have, what you saw on the screen just there, 22 brands, which we call our billion-dollar brands. Let's review first of all, some of the history of VMI. The initial concept started in 1984 within the CPG industry, and the initial prototype of VMI was with the Schnucks Market Company of St. Louis, and they wanted to be able to receive cross-category shipments in single trucks, and they wanted to do this in a test which we call the multi-division ship test. To that point in time, individual orders from all of the categories were shipped separately. And this was causing problems in logistics, and they wanted to work with Procter Gamble on receiving those orders in mixed categories. By doing that, we also recognized at that point in time this would be a big win for Procter Gamble because we could actually optimize and place better orders with our customers and on behalf of our customers. In 1985 to 1988, we did pilots with Toys R Us and Kmart. Toys R Us was the biggest receiver of diapers at that point in time, and was struggling to keep up with demand, and requested that P&G manage the inventory for them at their distribution centers in a joint inventory management project. This saved the diapers business with our largest retailer, and then we extended that to Kmart. Here you see the origins of vendor-managed inventory. First of all, the creation of orders with the customer on their behalf, and secondly, the ability to manage inventory at our customers on their behalf. In 1988, we created a production version of the VMI system and process. We worked that with the Walmart organization, where Sam Walmart of Walmart wanted to simplify the way that we did business together. The official coming out of the new process was made public and with the VMI and reviewed by the Harvard Business Review, recognized as a transformational business concept. Walmart went from an average diaper retailer of 25,000 cases per week to 75,000 cases per week in just 3 weeks. And we increased the number of SKUs we were selling through the Walmart business from 3 to 16, massively increasing the business and making Walmart the biggest diaper retailer in the US. In 1992, we embarked upon the efficient consumer response and efficient replenishment. Dirk Jager, Procter & Gamble CEO at that time, wanted to create the concept whereby all industries, suppliers and retailers would participate together under the umbrella of ECR. The continuous replenishment program was born, and through IBM we made the CRP process and solutions publicly available. IBM offered that worldwide and switched the name to VMI. Some retail companies decided to take that same VMI concept and move it in-house. But again, the concepts and the processes behind that were the same. In 2012, we started to renew our processes on VMI with the Datalliance organization. So where are we today? The Procter & Gamble company receives about 9 million orders every single year. About 50% of those orders we receive from via electronic data interchange. About 25% of those orders we receive either manually via a customer phoning up one of our customer service representatives and placing the order over the telephone, or semi-manually where they send an email potentially with an Excel attachment which we can upload into our systems. 10% of our orders globally we receive via web order management, 10% through the VMI process, and about 5% through our sales representatives. So where are we today with VMI? So in terms of VMI, P&G conducts VMI only in the Western Europe and North American regions, where it accounts for about 20% of our sales in those two regions. We have approximately 150,000 location SKU combinations on VMI across our businesses for our fabric care, home care, baby care, beauty, female care, and also our prestige fragrances business. All are managed through the VMI process. As you can see, that's a variety of different categories that we manage through VMI. In the 1990s and the early 2000s, we observed a decreasing trend for the use of VMI in our customers, as a lot of large retail customers moved to major ERP implementations and started to use more EDI transactional processes with ourselves. P&G also reduced the number of VMI customers over this period, focusing on the big volume customers segment, which we can use VMI for, and control costs. The VMI volume trend over the past few years has stabilized in North America and Western Europe, but we do see increasing trends now for VMI in developing markets and customers who are looking to increase collaboration with Procter & Gamble. What value is VMI in the supply chain? The benefits to the retailers, first of all. What we observe with the customers through which we use VMI, we first of all see increased shelf availability. Typically, this is 1% to 2% higher than using EDI. And also our case fill rate, the rate at which we measure whether we met the customer's orders, is about 0.5 to 1% higher than using EDI. We also see higher effectiveness for promotions and new product introductions on our VMI lanes. In addition, the retailers see lower inventories. Typically, we see about 33% lower inventory at our customer distribution centers for those customers on VMI versus EDI. We also see improved on-time delivery, 1% to 2% higher than EDI, and lower rejections and returns. And quite frankly, a lot of our retail customers tell us that when they're on the VMI process, it's really just less to worry about because P&G is managing that whole replenishment process for them. The benefits to Procter & Gamble of using VMI are some of the same ones that we see with our retailers. We have increased shelf availability. That means we sell more products. We have increased case fill rate. Again, so we sell more products with our customers. We have better control of our shipments and also better control of inventory and availability management in short stock situations. Where we have short stock situations, we can be more choiceful and by choosing how we will distribute our products that are in short stock, because we have better visibility to the stock inside the retailers. That means we keep all of our retailers in stock for longer. Also, one of the big areas that we see benefits from on VMI is on vehicle fill rate. Typically, we see a 4 to 6% improvement in our vehicle fill rate on the VMI lanes versus our EDI lanes, because we can mix heavy and light products together and better fill our products. Because VMI is important to Procter & Gamble, we're continuously working to stay ahead on the leading edge of VMI in terms of the value that it provides for both our customers and also for Procter & Gamble. In order to take VMI to a higher level, P&G has recognized the need to move forward to a more modern VMI platform and has selected Datalliance as our next generation provider of VMI capability. We selected Datalliance because they have a proven track record to be flexible and cost-efficient solution. What are the benefits that we really get through using the Datalliance solution? Well, I already mentioned the KPIs on the previous screen that we get from VMI, and through Datalliance we maintain those same KPIs or improve upon them. One of the real benefits that we get from using the Datalliance solution versus our previous solution is we get massively improved efficiency of our VMI analysts. Because of the tool's easiness to use and advanced algorithms to build orders, we can optimize the actual time that it takes the VMI analyst to generate those orders and also improve some of the vehicle fill capabilities. Typically what we've seen so far is that our analysts touch the solution about 50% less times, reducing the number of touches and improving their efficiency, because they're working on the system rather than in the system. and allowing the algorithms to actually generate the optimized orders on behalf of the customer. In addition, some of the additional capabilities, for example, automatic consolidation, has reduced the number of touches that we actually also have currently in our SAP order management system as well. Overall, this reduction in touches and optimization of the process across both VMI and also SAP OSD gives us about a 20 to 25% improvement in productivity of our VMI analysts. That allows us then to either use that productivity to generate more VMI and work on better VMI processes, and allows us to expand the solution for other customers. The second element of this, of Data Alliance, that we found, is the flexibility to meet customer requirements. Data Alliance has allowed us more flexibility to actually meet some requirements that specific customers have. So, for example, the optimization tool, or the truck optimization tool, allows us to keep products on a single truck if required. It might not optimize the overall VMI process, but specific customers ask us to keep their products on single trucks, so they can then cross-dock those products when they arrive at the customer DC more easily. Secondly, it's opened up new channels where we can use VMI. An example of that is we have a customer in Western Europe for our prestige business, whereby they had specific requirements for minimum shelf presence at stores. Because we were allowed now to, or have the capability now to do VMI at the store level, it means that we can better control the inventory at those stores. We can aggregate that information up to the actual distribution center and thereby allow us to use VMI for that particular customer in a way that better controls the inventory and maintains the actual on-shelf availability. The fourth element of this is around driving global standard work processes. This allows us to create a portfolio of VMI best practices so we can drive best practices across the globe more quickly and thereby improve productivity and also better KPIs quickly across the globe. Finally, as a software as a service model, it allows us to integrate more closely between our customers and between ourselves in a global standard way, allowing upstream and downstream integration for master data, availability, and truck optimization across the total supply network. What are some of the new capabilities that we see with the Data Alliance solution? The first one is around automated product and master data setup. Previously, a lot of that information had to be maintained manually. With our new solution, we take our master data directly out of our SAP master data database and feed that directly into the Data Alliance tool. That allows us to set up our products more quickly and also maintain critical master data across the total supply network. In addition to that, there are additional capabilities on phase-in, phase-out. Previously, phase-in, phase-out management was done manually, and the VMI analyst had to spot when a code was phasing out and a new code was phasing in. Now those codes can be flagged, and the tool will automatically change over from one product to the next product when the inventory is depleted. Finally, before the order is created, we also have a feed from our SAP system that shows the analyst where we have codes that are critical inventory level or low stock inventory levels. Because this is flagged to the VMI analyst at the creation of the order, it means that they can make choices about how to fill and how to fulfill a particular order with that product or alternate products at the early stage of the process versus waiting until later in the process and having to go back and rework the process. In addition to that, some of the new capabilities before the as we build the order is we now get to store level forecasting. Previously, we were only forecasting at the customer distribution level. Now that we're going down to the store level, we can generate more accurate forecast of the demand at the store level. We can aggregate that up to the actual distribution center, customer distribution center level, and again, through that, generate more accurate understanding of what the requirements are for the customer and fulfill against that. In addition, we can also incorporate promotional forecasts at the store level, and again gives us better visibility to the demand, and particularly to the demand spikes flowing in through the system into our planning and our execution processes. Another interesting feature is we have some customers that, although they are VMI customers, will still send us EDI-type orders because they have some categories that are on EDI, some categories that are on VMI, or they could be sending us EDI orders for their promotional businesses. We have capability in this tool and these processes to combine the VMI as well as the EDI data together, and again allow that to optimize the total orders, and also to take that and use that same information in the next step, which is around integration with Order Builder. Our Order Builder solution resides on our ERP solution, but we've developed an interface that allows the Order Builder solution to be called from the Datalliance solution, software as a service outside our firewall. And because our Order Builder solution knows all of our information with regard to our product sizes, dimensions, and weights, it allows us to optimize the vehicle fill rates by combining heavy and light products together, so we're maximizing the cube fill on the truck. This alone, in early tests, has shown to be an additional 5% improvement on our vehicle fill. And again, substantial savings in transportation, but also reductions in CO2 emissions because we ship less product, or ship the same amount of product but on a lower number of trucks around the world. Finally, where do we see vendor-managed inventory moving in the future? One of the reasons that we wanted to move to a new vendor-managed inventory solution was historically we had seen that a lot of the capabilities that had been promised through CPFR, Collaborative Planning and Forecast Replenishment, had really not come to pass. And we were still very, very interested in synchronizing our end-to-end supply chains. One of those capabilities residing out there that gives us visibility to what's in our total supply chain and what the requirements are to our customers is VMI. So by taking the VMI solution and getting visibility into our customers on what are really their unconstrained demands, we can now take that through VMI and feed that into our back office order management processes, so that we can take that unconstrained demand and optimize for availability management, optimize to build perfect logistical orders through order building, and also where we're going to source those products from. In this way, we can develop and build perfect logistical orders, which we can then flow through the supply chain to fulfill our customers' requirements, and do that in a way at lower cost, at higher frequency, and improved case fill rates. And we see this becoming a foundational element of our future synchronized supply chain. Key messages. As I said at the start, P&G has been doing VMI for many years, 30 years now, and it remains an important value-adding supply chain capability for our largest customers. P&G envisions VMI as a foundational capability for supply chain collaboration with our customers, and P&G is working with Datalliance to identify and address opportunities to drive increased value out of the synchronized supply chain moving forward. We've seen a revival in interest in VMI over the last few years in Latin America and also in Asia, but also with some of our largest customers in Western Europe and North America who are very, very interested in driving a synchronized supply chain to improve the overall supply chain for the benefit of themselves, the benefit of the manufacturers, but most importantly, for the benefit of the consumers. Thank you very much.
Great, Alistair. Thank you. That was certainly impressive. You guys have had some unbelievable results. The KPIs right from the start, and then the improved efficiencies. A lot of work behind that. Even just to go from the DC level to from the DC level to store level is a lot of work. So I appreciate you sharing your journey. There's a ton of questions that are coming in. I'm going to start to get to a few of them. But the biggest one is really just people looking for advice. So, what are some best practices that you can share with people that are really just trying to ramp up their VMI capabilities? Are there any gotchas to avoid or things that you think that they should absolutely make sure to include? Just looking for some advice.
Thank you, Carl. It's a very, very good question. I think before you really dive into any VMI process, you need to step back and really understand what is your overall order acquisition strategy and vision with your customers. As I said at the start of the presentation, we don't do VMI with all of our customers. We have order acquisition using EDI for a very large amount of our retail customer base. We have web order management for our smaller customers. We have VMI for our customers that we want to work very, very collaboratively with. And some customers, you may just want to use traditional methods of just phoning up and somebody talking through a sales order. So with that, I think, what we've done is we've really spent time stratifying our customers into those order acquisition brackets, collaboration brackets, based on order sizes, order pattern frequency, and really getting into some detailed analytics to understand, based on the order frequency and order sizing, and also, what the customer and what Procter & Gamble wants out of this relationship, what is the right order acquisition strategy. The other element to this is you've really got to clearly understand why VMI is important to both the manufacturer and also to the customer. What is the primary business driver that you're trying to achieve? It could be inventory reduction in the supply chain. It could be improved case fill rate. It could be improved vehicle fill rate. It could be just a better collaboration and understanding, or it could be hands-off processing. But I think it's very, very important that both the manufacturer and the retailer understands what they're trying to get out of the VMI relationship, so that you can then move forward and understand the work process and organizational impact of moving to a VMI type processes. Recall, at the end of the day, this has got to be a win-win for both the manufacturer and the retailer. And it is those understandings, first of all, of the stratification, understanding of what the retailer is trying to get out of the VMI process, understand what the manufacturer is, so that you actually build that win-win situation from the very start.
Who usually initiates that conversation? That's okay. I was just wondering, who usually initiates that conversation? Does it come from the supplier, or does it come from the retailer?
It can come from either side. As I said, when we've done we tend to initiate that discussion after we've done the stratification and decided or try to understand which retailers fit into the VMI scope. So we initiate it from our side, and just to give you some examples of that, what we're seeing particularly in Latin America, where we started doing business with customers maybe sort of 20, 25 years ago that were relatively small, that are growing very, very rapidly and been growing very, very rapidly over the last 20 years or so, is that we now have to go back to them and say, we think your order acquisition strategy is no longer applicable to the sort of business that you're doing. You're big now. You really shouldn't be using whatever technique they're using now. This is going to be a more efficient way of doing it, and this is how we think it could be a win. So on that side of it, that's where we would initiate that discussion. But many times retailers approach us and say, we've heard about the fact that you do VMI with customers. We've heard about some of the benefits that you get from it and we could get from it, and we'd like to start a dialogue about could we become a VMI customer. So it really can start from either side, and it does.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. We're going to bring you back in at the end for some more Q&A, but I want to share the floor with Carl. So, Carl, I'd love to hear your perspective and some other things that you guys have heard from your vast experience implementing VMI all over the world also. So, Carl, the floor is yours.
Well, Kara, thank you very much. And Alistair, thank you as well. It's always fun to hear somebody and how they're using the tool and what they're doing with our product. I'm just going to go over very quickly kind of a little bit about who we are. So, for those of you who don't know us, we're not quite the name brand that I think Procter & Gamble is. First, $38 billion is how much business moved through our system in 2013. It's a number that's obviously a big number. It's about 50% bigger in 2013 than it was in 2012. And quite honestly, we're expecting even more growth in 2014, looking forward at what we've been able to accomplish in the first 5 months of the year. And it's important that you recognize, as you look at this, Procter & Gamble is obviously a big piece of that, but we have over 100 customers around the globe that are using the system as well that are contributing to that number. 21 million SKUs. Again, this is stock keeping units at locations spread out around the world. And 21 million now is getting to be a very big number. It's interesting to me. I actually have experience working with Procter Gamble back 30 years ago when they were first starting the VMI journey. And when you looked at the number of SKUs that we were talking about back then compared to something like 21 million, it's amazing to think about the amount of inventory that's actually being moved through the process on a daily basis. And then 20,000 locations. The majority of these locations are in North America, but we are seeing significant growth in Europe, and we have a very solid base now established in Europe. But as Alistair alluded to, we're also seeing growth in Latin America and in very starts of the process in Asia. So we're seeing a lot of growth in Latin America as well as in Europe across the locations that are being managed. So if you look at those numbers, that's for Datalliance completely. If we just focus instead on the consumer goods side of our business, we have 16 consumer goods customers today. We've added 5 new consumer goods customers in the last 6 months. 4 of the CGT top 10 are our customers today. But it's important to recognize that of those 16, we've got all different sizes of customers that are playing now in the VMI world. And about half of the customers that we've added in consumer goods are new to VMI, as well as the other half who are transitioning programs to us. So we've got a lot of familiarity with both. And I think what's interesting when Alistair talks about the increase in demand for VMI, again, that we have people who are actually coming to VMI for the first time, and we have some people who are coming back to VMI who actually had stopped doing VMI for some period of time and have decided to get back into VMI now. Kind of carrying on with that, we also see VMI being used in a lot of different categories within the store. At this point in time, we picked the CGT breakdown of how they look at the different categories, and we are active in 7 of those 10 categories that CGT speaks to. So you can see a wide variety of products being moved through. Virtually every aisle now in the grocery store is being handled via VMI. Again, something that I think is a little bit different than it would have been a few years ago. And we have today about 50 different retailers that we're dealing with. In North America, we have over 30, and then we have retailers across Europe as well that we're dealing with. In most of the major markets within Europe, we have 1 or more retailers that we're dealing with. So we really see a very broad base now of demand for vendor-managed inventory in consumer goods, with both retailers and an increasing demand and an increasing attention being paid by suppliers in the marketplace. For those of you who maybe have known us from earlier days, we also have a large percentage of our business that's in other industries. So we do a lot of business in the industrial market, but we refer to it as the industrial market, which is really electrical, plumbing, power distribution, all the different things that you could think of that are not being sold maybe direct to consumers, but are being sold business to business. And we also have a fairly healthy market today in healthcare. To kind of help you think through who those kinds of people are, these are some of the customers we deal with in those markets. So one of the things, that's a little bit kind of Datalliance from the numbers, but I think one of the things that's important to recognize is what is it the customers are really saying about us, and what is it that are driving more people to look at Datalliance. I think the one word that could sum it all up is focus. What we do is vendor-managed inventory. It's pretty much all that we do. We are very focused on vendor-managed inventory and trying to help people to be successful with vendor-managed inventory. And that's led to some choices that we've made around how do we go to market. First of all would be the platform. Being cloud-based is a very important decision factor for most of our customers. Alistair alluded to this earlier in his presentation. that it gives us the flexibility to deal directly with a lot of retailers, a lot of different types of trading partners outside of the firewall of our particular customers. And it's all browser accessible. So when you think about bringing on new employees, let's face it, when you're hiring somebody who's new to the business, they're very comfortable using a browser. They may not be so comfortable using some of the other technologies that are out there. I think maybe the most important thing, and the thing that, frankly, we have the most fun with, is the innovation. How do we help people to improve the payback from doing vendor-managed inventory? Alistair alluded to a few things. He talked about the idea of improving fill rates, improving vehicle fill rate, improving the lack or increasing the automation associated with the process, making it easier for our customers to manage more business faster is really one of the big things that we're all about. And at the same time, we want to make sure that our customers are continuing to get the payback that they deserve out of doing vendor-managed inventory. So helping them to do a better job of filling their trucks, helping them to do a better job of optimizing their short supply inventory. Working in those types of arenas is really helping to improve the payback that our customers are getting from doing vendor-managed inventory. And then finally, the customer support that we bring to bear is something we're very proud of, and our customers almost universally comment on. But really, the real point in that support is not just to have great support just because it's a great idea, but it helps our customers get faster time to value. They're able to be up and running quicker. They're able to stay up and running with less effort. They're able to make decisions faster because of the support that we bring to bear. So if you look at it and you think about, okay, these are some of the things that our customers have actually said to us. What they were really looking for here, this product was new to VMI, and they wanted somebody to help them get up and running quickly so that they could start to capture the value of moving to vendor-managed inventory. Shannon is referring to something that Alistair did as well, the idea of being able to manage more partners with the same number of people, doing it more effectively, being able to then gather the strategic benefits associated with doing vendor-managed inventory across a broader selection of their pipeline. So really being able to help them capitalize on the skills that they're bringing to bear. And then I think Debbie kind of says it all. And I mean, this is one of the things that I'm personally very proud of, is our customer support, and our customers almost always comment on the quality of the people that we bring to bear to help them be successful. We just completed our user meeting 3 weeks ago, and I will tell you, as I wandered around talking to our different customers about what we do, this is what they all commented on. The people that they work with every day to help make them successful. That's what brings people to us, and that's what keeps people with us. Looking at vendor-managed inventory from a different perspective, I wanted to look across a couple kind of one outside source and one inside source. We did a survey earlier last year, and we asked our customers across the board, what do you see going forward in 2014? And 78% of our customers echoed what Alistair has said, that they expect to see vendor-managed inventory increase as a way for them to get orders in 2014. By the way, the 22% that didn't say increase, they expect it to stay the same. I think this is a very different picture than we would have had if we asked this question 4 or 5 years ago when VMI was on the decline. Instead, what we're seeing very much is that customers are looking for more ways to bring the value that they get from vendor-managed inventory to bear with their retail partners. Laura Cesari from Supply Chain Insights also did a VMI survey earlier this year, and she was able to articulate these 5 was the top 5 business values that when she went out into the marketplace and said, what is it that you expect to get from VMI? These are the things they came up with. I thought it was interesting. Order management reliability was the #1 thing. The idea of being able to get an order every day for products that you actually ship and quantities that you actually can ship is something that, frankly, being able to do VMI gives them that value every day from day one. And being able to do that is still a very high value. We hear a lot about EDI and, oh, it's all automatic. I've talked to different customers. Most of the customers tell me there is still a substantial amount of rework that has to happen with EDI orders. VMI reduces or eliminates that. Managing the customer service level. I think of this along with the fourth one, the alerting to potential out of stocks. Making sure that the customer has the right product available and has the product in stock when it's being demanded is something that I think everybody looks for out of our system. I can tell you again, we did a study across all of our customers who had brought on new locations. We had about 1,000 new locations in 2014. When we added those 1,000 locations in 2014, in general, we saw a 40% reduction in out-of-stocks. Although that's maybe not direct to shelf always, it is in our case, since we do manage out to the store level in some cases, it is direct to shelf. And in the cases where it is managed through a DC, it is bringing the value to the customer, making sure that product is available at the DC so it can be shipped out to the store. Business partner relationships, I think, is something that's really interesting to me about this because I go back, again, my experience with VMI is very deep at this point, having worked in this for almost 30 years. But what you really see is if you really think of the business partner relationships, that idea of being able to trust each other, VMI was one of the first places that you really saw collaboration between suppliers and retailers. And that collaboration reinforced the trust level between the suppliers and up and down the supply chain. Really helps build that business partner relationship so that you're now on the same side of the table, talking about how do we do business more effectively and better rather than talking about how do I buy on the last ad. And then finally, the achieving of customer inventory turns. Again, another piece that I see people are very interested in. It's been interesting to watch over the last 3 or 4 years since we had the economic problems that we had back in 2008, 2009. One of the things that we saw in 2014, again, across the locations that were new to vendor-managed inventory with us, what we saw was inventory turns increased 14%. Frankly, that was down some from the level of inventory turn increase we saw in 2008, 2007. And I think what's really happened is as business is starting to pick up, people are willing to let the inventory rise a little bit along with that business. But nevertheless, seeing a substantial return on that at a 14% level. So I think these are some of the reasons why people are doing vendor-managed inventory, and I think it's important to recognize that VMI is still growing, and it still provides real value back into the supply chain.
Thank you, Carl. As I said earlier, we have a ton of questions coming in, so I've got one quick one for you, and then we're going to get to some of the ones that are coming in, bring Alistair back into the conversation. But you talked a lot about the different suppliers that you're working with doing VMI, some unbelievable results, that 40% reduction out of stock, that's stupendous. So from your perspective, you know, Alistair talked about making this a win-win situation. So what do you feel are the key attributes of being a good VMI supplier? How does a supplier really present that win-win and make it a collaborative environment?
That's a good question, Cara. I think the thing that the retailers that I talk to, I think would speak to is working better together. I mean, I'd love to tell you that it's all about using our tool. But I really think what really comes down to is the supplier needs to treat vendor-managed inventory as an important process. They need to put good people against it. They need to have good tools, obviously. But really what they really need is somebody who's going to take the time and care about the process and the replenishment of those goods at the same level or a higher level even than the retailer would. And that's really what makes it successful. It's the people who use the system, not necessarily the system itself. And we had Kroger and Wegmans have been at our last 2 user meetings, and when I sat through both of their presentations, what you really heard very clearly is we value the suppliers who value this process and value our business, and that's really what it comes down to, I think, more than anything else.
And we put very good people against it. We call them VMI analysts, because they are true analysts working within customer service to improve the end-to-end collaboration with our customers.
It's all about the people. Great. Okay, so Alistair's jumped back into the conversation, so let's get him involved here. There's a bunch of questions coming in about, you both talked about the increased demand for VMI from those retail customers. Alistair, you specifically mentioned Latin America before, and there's a few folks on the phone who have been asking questions about Latin America. Why do you think that the customers in these other regions are now asking for VMI? Are they seeing successes? Is it, Alistair, let's start with you on that part, and then Carl, are you seeing other regions, other geographic regions also, or is it, divisions of customers? So Alistair, let's start with you. Why are we seeing this increased demand?
Yeah, I think it's, I think there's two major drivers of this. I think outside of Western Europe and North America, and as I say, as Carl mentioned, we're seeing a lot of interest in Latin America and the start of interest in Asia now. And I think it's just driven by scale. I think the customers over there are getting to a size now where they're starting to realize that they need to improve their processes in a way that drives improved customers. The retailers want better customer service. They want better vehicle fill. They want to find ways to work with the manufacturers in better, and they've got the scale now to start to demand that from their manufacturers. Yeah, we also see a lot of interest now from distributors as well, as our distributors have grown, particularly in Latin America now. I'm talking, yeah, who also want to start to engage more. They don't see themselves as sell-through organizations anymore. They start to see themselves more like and more competitive with retailers, and they want to start, working through the same processes.
What about those three-tier distribution?
I think from a manufacturing, sorry?
Go ahead. I was also asking about what about the three-tier distribution model, where you've got some manufacturers, and there's some on the phone here, that are supplying to distributors who then do the selling. Are you seeing that kind of activity as well?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. So it's really the VMI between the manufacturers and the distributors that then are reselling on, but it's the VMI between the distributor and the manufacturer that's the key part. And I think also you're seeing further down that sort of what I would call the R model, or the three-tier model. You're also seeing better collaboration now between the distributors and the resellers and the stores as well. And I think it's a natural progression that people want to get more integrated and drive out the losses on that long model. I think the other one that I'm seeing in Western Europe and North America, or why I'm seeing more interest in Western Europe and North America, is that if you think about your supply chain, you're trying to pump inventory through your supply chain against your fast-moving SKUs every single day. And the bit that really creates a lot of the problem and the losses and the costs in the supply chain are actually the events. Now, one of the beauties of the VMI model is you can start to integrate those events, those supply big demand elements from the retailers, providing visibility of this event's coming forward. This is what we see is going to happen. And I can already then use that same information and prime that into my planning system, so my manufacturing, my material supply is ready when I receive the order to start pumping that inventory through the supply chain, so I'm not carrying lots and lots of safety stock in my supply chain for events that only happen infrequently. So I think it's different requirements from different regions, and I think it's the maturity in Western Europe and North America around handling events and doing that in a way that maintains customer service at low inventory. And I think in Latin America and Asia, it's all about maturity and growth in the retailers and the distributors.
I would agree very much. I would agree very much with what Alistair said. I also think another thing that plays into this a little bit is it kind of goes back to my comment about what makes a good supplier. I think the idea at one point in time was it's all about the math. And so as retailers invested more money in better systems and better math, there was kind of an idea that says, well, I now have very sophisticated systems. Why do I need the supplier to help me? I think what people are finding is it's not all about the math. It is about working together and understanding what's going on for both sides of the equation, and there's still real value in that. And communicating earlier about things like promotions is a huge piece of that, so that we're in a better position, so the retailer gets what he wants, and the manufacturer is in a better position to fill that order. I think there's a lot of that that's driving the additional interest in vendor managed inventory.
Okay, thanks. There's a lot of questions coming in about the technology itself, so let's try to get to a few of them. Carl, I want to start with you. Some questions about integration to ERP systems. Alistair mentioned SAP, so help us understand the integration and how that works.
Okay. Well, I think the integration is, it's interesting. We're still using from a integration with the retailer the same technology, EDI technology that we've been using for 20 years on this. I think the issue, though, is we are continuing to expand. We're seeing an expansion of that model to include more data and include more data fields. We're also seeing expansion by using other additional data elements such as forecasts and so forth, promotion forecast in particular. And then on the supplier side, we've been able to do a lot with web services to tie directly into the back-end processes within the supplier's ERP systems to make sure we're getting the right data to drive the process as well. So the integration, although not terribly difficult, is continuing to expand to allow more data to be used and to allow more knowledge on both sides of the equation.
So you don't just have to have SAP?
No.
Okay, just wanted to make sure we reinforce that. Okay. Alistair, some questions about how long it actually took you to migrate from your previous system to Datalliance. What was that kind of migration like? What was that implementation like? And because you also added additional functionality, right?
Yeah, we started this journey in 2012, as I said, and our initial plan was to migrate all of our VMI customers onto the new Datalliance solution within 3 years. I've been doing this now for like 22 years, and it's very rare that I can actually say that we finished a project early. But in this particular case, we migrated all of our Western Europe and North American retailers onto the Datalliance VMI solution in 2 years. So we were really very happy about the fact that we could do that very, very quickly and start realizing the additional benefits so much earlier. Really, the constraints why we couldn't have done it even faster was that actually there was it was specific to some of the customer requirements. Because specific customers have specific needs. I mentioned some of them earlier around the keeping products on a single truck. And with Datalliance, we actually worked with them to modify the solution and create molds that would meet those specific customer requirements. But again, it was very, very fast, 2 years from start to finish.
Carl, there's some questions about enhancements. You talked in your presentation about how you're always working to develop innovations to improve VMI. So questions about how often are you actually putting out enhancements, and how do you determine what goes into to a new release?
That's another good question. We do three major enhancements of the system every year. So about every 4 months. We just did one last week, as a matter of fact. So we are constantly working to try to get better across the board with what it is that we're trying to do, and we gain the knowledge of what it is we want to try to do by frankly just talking with our customers, meeting with our customers, understanding what's on their mind, looking for things that that they're looking to see improved, and then coupling that with industry events that we attend and just the general thought process that we put against this every day to try to say, what are the areas that we think we can really capitalize on to help the supplier and retailer work better together? How do we make it more streamlined? How do we make it faster? And so we go to our customers on a regular basis, talk with them about that. We then assemble a plan, and we try to communicate at least the biggest pieces of that plan to our customers and say, these are the things we're thinking about for the next release or maybe the release after that. And we try to kind of coalesce the group to try to say, okay, this has good value for everybody, and trying to move the group forward together. And one of the nice things about being in the cloud is we can move everybody forward together. Everybody runs the same copy of the software, so everybody is utilizing the newest, latest, greatest all the time. So we don't have to drag people along like sometimes you see with on-premise software.
Right. Okay, we just have a minute left, so just want to ask you guys to for some parting words of advice. Alistair, you already gave us some thoughts as to how to bring the VMI program to the next level. Maybe where to get started, or look into your crystal ball and really help someone kind of push this to the next level. So, Alistair, we'll give you the parting words first.
Thank you very much, Cara. As I say, we've been doing VMI now for 30 years, and quite frankly, we hadn't really moved forward, past where we were 28 years ago until very, very recently. And I think it's really around understanding and using VMI tools and capabilities to get much better visibility into the total end-to-end supply chain. I think some people are looking for very fancy solutions for that, but VMI just sits out there and it's already there, and you can get an awful lot of information which you can then use to optimize the end-to-end supply chain for the benefit of the manufacturer, the retailer, and the consumer. And that's something that we are really starting to leverage. We've now completed the implementation. Well, we're going to complete in the next 3 weeks or so for the whole of our business now, VMI business onto Datalliance. And now we're really looking forward to starting to leverage that and to really start to optimize some of those processes, particularly the integration of the VMI processes with our back-end order management, source determination, and vehicle fill processes to really drive more loss out of the end-to-end supply chain. And that's how we see ourselves moving forward for at least the next couple of years in this particular space, as well as potentially bringing on new customers in North America, Western Europe, and expansion into Latin America and Asia of VMI processes.
Great, thank you. Carl, parting words.
I would say a lot of what Alistair just said. I think the important point is to look at what you can get out of this technology and figure out where is the right place to apply it within your organization. It's not for everybody, I understand that, but I do think there's real value, and I think in a lot of cases, people kind of, that's old news. I think a lot of what we're trying to do right now is turn that around a little bit and talk about the things that we can do better now because of undermanaged inventory.
Excellent. I want to thank both of you for your time today. I want to thank Datalliance for their sponsorship of this webinar. A replay will be available, and we have captured all the questions that we didn't get to, and I promise you we'll try to get to all of you. So if you have any further questions, all the contact information is available. And again, have a great afternoon or a great morning, depending on where you are. Thanks, everybody.